All right, guys, so we're going to do question 42. In fact, we're going to do all the target costing questions. They're actually not too bad. Some theory questions and some calcs. So let's go. So let's look at it. In target costing, which of the following would be an appropriate strategy to reduce the cost gap? So we know what's going on with target costing. We are price takers. There's nothing we can do about that. All we can do is to become more efficient with the way we manage our costs. And typically our stakeholders or shareholders will demand if you like, a margin, and so we have to respect that margin and therefore work to making more efficient the costs prior to those margins. Right, so what we have here, it says, which of the following would be an appropriate strategy to reduce the cost gap for a product that existed in a competitive industry with demanding shareholders? So increasing the selling price, probably not. You won't be able to sell your product. Reduce the expectation gap. Wouldn't work really by reducing the selling price. You're making less profit really here. So best you can do is just sell it at the market price, reducing the desired margin on the product. It says your shareholders are demanding. Mechanizing production also reduce average production cost is sort of your most rational sort of way to go. So your answer there is D. 42 is D. Right, 42 is D. Okay, great. Let's deal with that one first. Let's look at the next one. Which of the following strategies would be an immediately acceptable method to reduce an identified cost gap? Kind of similar kind of question to 42. Reduce the desired margin without discussion with business owners. Not a good idea. Reduce the predicted selling price. That's your price taker. Probably don't have that sort of authority to do that. Increase the predicted selling price. You're not going to sell the product. Source similar quality materials from another supplier to reduce costs. You can see the key point here is how do we get the same quality for less? I mean, that's difficult in itself as well. You might, have to go abroad or whatever it is, but or do a bit of good investigating, and that might be tricky. But at least that's your option. Okay, great. So that's 43. Let's go to 44. I think this might be a calc one. Let us see. Yes. So again, I think I've said in class several times that you have to really work with the question. You have to kind of get into the mode of manufacturing and industry. And I know the syllabus in itself doesn't look at process costing where we can see loss and shrinkage, but I think we do a bit on, I think it was a question on sandwiches, wasn't it? About idle time and that sort of thing. So here it says the predicted selling price for product has been set at $56 per unit. The desired markup is on cost is 25%. So if we look at that first, so the selling price is $56. It says the desired markup is 25%. So that means, if you remember with your markup, this is at 125%, and therefore your costs are at 100%. That's the whole markup principle, isn't it? Which means that my cost, when I do this, means that my cost is 56 divided by, well, by basically 56 of 125 times 100, if you like, think of it that way. So my cost comes to £44.80. So these are the costs I'm allowed to. This is my sort of boundary in terms of costs. Right? Okay, great. Then let's go back to the question. Right? So I'm sure you are happy with me arriving at this cost, and that's you could do it in several ways. Whatever maths rocks your world, work with it, as long as you arrive at that answer. Right, and then it says here that the material cost is estimated to be $16 before allowing for shrinkage of 20%. So they give you a nice sort of breakdown here. For every 10 kilograms of material going out, only 8 kilograms comes out. So perfect. This is almost like your ideal standard. No wastage, $16 if you like, but you will have wastage. So you're going to have to buy more, if you like, than you actually need, because you need wastage. So if I'm going to need, you could call it, I'm just going to assume that I would need 16 kilograms, if you like, which is why you're saying 16 pounds. Think of it that way. So if you're going to be losing 20% of what you actually use, of actual material they actually buy. So if I'm going to lose 20% of something. I'm only going to therefore have 80% left. So, or let's put it like this. So I don't know. I need to buy a certain amount, and I'm going to lose 20% of this, and therefore the real amount that is really gonna that is needed. This is before loss, if you like, is 80% of this. So I guess technically you could argue that 80% of 20 kilograms is equal to 16 kilograms. So I'm going to have to buy 20 kilograms, because when I lose 20% of 20, I ask 4 kilograms, I will have 16 kilograms left. I need 16 kilograms in the end. I'm going to lose some. So I'm going to have to buy 20 kilograms, because it tells me categorically that the 16 kilograms is before considering what you're losing, right? So I'm going to have to buy 20 kilograms, which means I'm going to spend, right, 20 pounds, right? Because you could have done it for the $16, but the key point here is that I'm going to have to spend $20, if you like, because I'm going to lose $4 worth, if you like. So 20% of this, I'm going to lose $4 worth, and that becomes 16 pounds in the end. So the real cost, well, when I say the real cost, the cost of what I'm buying will end up being $20. So I'm going to have to spend $20 in materials. Right, which means that what cost do I have left to work with? Well, I have £44.80 minus 20, which is £24.80. That's all I have. That's the remaining boundary I have if I'm to keep that margin. And the margin is this thing here, of course, right? Which looks like £12.20, doesn't it? I'm not interested in this today. I'm interested in, it tells me that I need 2 hours. The best I can have is 2 hours. So I have to say, well, then £24.80, the max I can pay over 2 hours is therefore £12.40. So that's the maximum I can pay per hour, if you like. If 2 hours is that's the best I can afford in terms of labor, because of course direct costs are made up of material and labor. So your answer is £12.40. Cool, great stuff. So so that's £12.40 for that. Let's go back out of here and come here. So right, which of the following is not relevant to target costing? Question 45. Sometimes what they're really trying to get you to do is to really think about the different areas of costing and that sort of thing. Now, value analysis, well, yes, because with target costing, we're trying to see or ask, what is it that's really of value to the client? And let's get rid of those things that aren't of value, so to speak, or those things that the client doesn't really need. So we really focus on value, analyzing value, and you can read up on that, but value analysis is definitely essential. Functional analysis, similar again. What are the functional, if you like, needs of the client? We're really trying to look at that, if you like. And activity analysis, I guess, because you have this business of shrinkage, you're trying to understand what activities are taking place within the organization. Variance analysis seems to have a more cost approach, where we are looking at costs within the organization and we're trying to control costs. I think it's quite open there. I wouldn't kill myself if you sort of felt that variance analysis somewhat relates to target costing. I mean, it just says variance analysis, but variance analysis, as we know it within performance management, tends very much to do with, if you like, looking at budgets versus actual. And so this is, I think A, C, and D work better to target costing, because you're really trying to drive down. You're trying to assess the product. It's almost like looking at the product. So the wrong answer here is B. B is what is not relevant. I'd just give them that. I think you could almost argue it, but the answer here is B. 45 is B. But it's okay. 46, another numerical, something that we like. Let's look at what's going on here. And let's just look at the question again. So it says that the selling price here is set to be 250 for each unit, and they expect to sell 500 units. So let's look at that first. So they expect selling price 250, and they expect to sell 500 units, which takes them to 250 times 500 is, oops, have I got that right? 250 times 500. Let me just make sure I've got my 250, sorry, times, yes, 250 times 500 units, yes, right, it's £125,000. And it says that our people, I'm sure, yes, it says here that our, what we're hoping to see is that the company requires a return of 15% on the investment of 250,000. So this is just return on capital employed, if you like. So that's 15% of 250,000. So 15% of 250,000 takes us to times 250,000 takes us to 37,500. So that's what I want my ROI to be. So if that's my return on investment, it therefore means that my, changing the pen color a little, so that means that my costs that I'm allowed really is the difference, really, right? Because it'll be 125 times this. So it's 125,000 minus 37,500, and so you have 87,500, and that's what you have as the cost that we will have to accept if we want this return. So you're making 500 units, so therefore if that's the cost in total, that means that the cost per unit is 87,500 divided by 500, which takes you nicely to 175 units. Oh, sorry, 175 pounds per unit. So your answer there, if you like, is, oops, where are we? Right, my mouse is misbehaving. Let me just put that there. Yeah. So yes, so your answer is 175, and the answer here technically is D, or whatever that is. And I think that brings us, oh, is there one more? Yes, there's one more here. Firm of opticians provide a range of services to the public, eye tests, things like this. Standard appointment, 30 minutes long. They will assess specific and do a range of things. So let me just take you to this here. I actually loaded the textbook just to sort of talk about some of the problems with target costing. It's so, if you're making individual products and like cans or chairs, you can sort of see where the different costs might be. But when you're talking about a service industry, there's the number of factors in the service industry. First of all, we can't quite touch these things. They're intangible. It's a service being provided. There's inseparability, simultaneous production and consumption happening at the same time because you're doing a number of services at once. These are unique services, and it's not like you can store these things. You can't quite transfer ownership because this is just a service on the user. So these are the typical characteristics that we see with service industries that are difficult for target costing in times of. It doesn't mean you can't apply target costing in the service industry. It just means that this is some of the issues, the challenges you have. So that's the answer we're looking for there. Things being simultaneous. So that brings us to this. Yes, sorry, to the question. And the question is asking us, which of the following describes? It is intangible. It isn't homogeneous. It isn't non-perishable. It's perishable. But this is the answer here. Things are simultaneous. Awesome, great stuff. And that brings us to the list of questions on target costing. See you at Life Cycle Costing.